Right, so today I wanted to make a video about this story, and this is something that I would say most people probably haven't heard about. So I just came across it yesterday. It was posted on November 27th, which is yesterday. But it's titled, and it's from Global News. It's titled, Ukrainian Students Want U of A Lecturer Fired After Calling Holodomor a Lie on Facebook. Now, this is a story that has some twists to it, and I think is extremely crazy, and it kind of I think it's something that needs to be talked about because, well, I'll get into it more. But a controversial, and again, how is it controversial? Like the one thing, the kind of the one of the main storylines behind this story is that if someone who was a Nazi and taught at a university and denied the Holocaust was made a post, would they title it a controversial post shared on Facebook? No, they wouldn't. They would call him a Nazi, and they would call it a horrible, psychopathic, borderline psychopathic person, puts this Facebook post up and whatever. But again, that's just something that bothers me so much about the media is that when someone who is a communist, I'll get into that more later on in the story, but a communist denies something that killed more people than the Holocaust, to be fair. And that's the one thing that I really want to stress is that contrary to what people tend to, they don't directly say, but they strongly imply in schools and universities and just in general society, communism was far worse than Nazism or fascism, either one, even if you combine them. We would have been much better off for communism to not have existed than for the Nazis to have existed. Much better off. Again, contrary to popular belief. And I'm talking about it on a simple, the amount of lives that would have been saved metric. But anyways, on November 20th, Dougal or Dougal MacDonald, I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce it, posted a message claiming that the Holodomor genocide is a myth and a lie and a man-made Ukrainian famine. The Ukrainian Canadian Students Union is calling the University of Alberta to immediately terminate and censure assistant lecturer Dougal MacDonald for anti-Ukrainian hate speech. And again, it's not anti-Ukrainian hate speech. It's that if someone denied the Holocaust and literally was a Nazi, would they be allowed to teach at a public university? Like, not a chance. Like, not even close. So of course this guy should be fired. And for anyone on the right who's like, no, people shouldn't be fired for their speech, well, that's why we're losing this battle so much. Is that you're holding yourselves to such a higher standard that the left standard is non-existent. I guess I'll just put it. I mean, the left standard is non-existent. Like the problem is the right standard is like 10 feet high and the left is an inch off the ground. Let's at least bring it down a little so we can get this stuff figured out. But anyways, um, Holodomor denial as well as libel and defamation of a community and former chancellor. Um, the Holodomor is recognized as a genocide by the Parliament of Canada and most legislatures in Canada, including Alberta, as well as countless in other countries and international government organizations around the world. The imposed famine in the Soviet Ukraine was orchestrated by Joseph Stalin's regime in 1932 and 33. About 10 million Ukrainians died. And again, it is a little personal for me because I do have Ukrainian ancestors. Um, so, yeah, it is a little personal and in more ways than just that. But, anyways, the post on MacDonald's Facebook page, photos of which have been shared online by several sources, including the Ukrainian Canadian Students Union and the U of A's campus newspaper, The Gateway, reads, it was the Hitlerite Nazis who created the famine myth of 1933 to discredit the Soviet Union, the enemy they most feared. Again, this guy's defending a regime that killed over 50 million people. Like, why in the world is this even a question? Like, it makes no sense to me. Anyways, getting back into it. William Randolph Hearst, Yellow Press sensationalized, exaggerated, and even fabricated news stories to try to push its reactionary agenda. and to sell more newspapers. Egged on by the Hitlerites, Hearst papers became the biggest propagandists for the Ukrainian famine myth, using fake photographs and printing lies that have been refuted by solid evidence over and over again. Trudeau, again, this guy thinks that Trudeau is too far to the right. Like, what world is he living in? Like, how, like, if you look up political bubbles in the world, like, this guy's is the biggest one I think that ever existed. When Justin Trudeau is too far out there for you, like, oh, wow. Anyways, the Trudeau government's promotion of the Holodomor myth is more of its self-serving agenda to attempt to rewrite history while falsely claiming to support freedom, democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. Again, like, you're a communist. Like, how can you criticize someone for that? Like, anyways, since his Facebook page is private, Global News has not been able to independently verify the post. In response to Global News' request for comment, McDonald said he's been researching the issue for a number of years and is not alone in his views. Other researchers have expressed similar doubts about the Holodomor, and again, like, I would challenge you to find me ones that aren't communists. Like, seriously, I challenge you to find me ones that aren't communists. Like, they're not going to exist, and if they are, they're few and far between. And the other thing too is that this guy thinks that, oh, I've been researching the issue for a number of years and I've came to a solid conclusion based off reason and evidence. But you're a communist. You're a communist. Like, you clearly have done absolutely no research whatsoever into your political beliefs, but your ability to research and come to a rational and reasonable conclusion in this issue is perfectly fine. Like, again, you can't have it both ways. McDonald said there are different positions. It's clear the students union are not in agreement, but that disagreement does not mean opinions should be silenced. Again, if it was happening on the other foot, opinions would be silenced. Therefore, yours should be silenced. Freedom of speech is a right that belongs to everyone, not just the one campus club. And all the current talk about the right to free speech going on both on and off campus, it really amazes me that the USS believe they have the right to stop someone from speaking. And again, like, how short-sighted and just crazy can you be? Like, you are a communist. Show me a communist regime that actually supports free speech. Like, please show me one. I mean, none of the ones that exist now do. None of the ones that used to exist do. Like, seriously, find me one. Like, this guy has got to be one of the craziest, and, like, the bubble that he lives in is, like, man, it shows no bounds. But anyways, Canadians don't agree with this notion of dividing everyone based on their beliefs. Without coming together and exercising our right to speak with each other, we'll get nowhere. So I will continue to do my research, follow the evidence where it leads, disseminate the results, and continue to clarify what actually happened in history. But again, you clearly have done no research whatsoever on your political beliefs, but yet your ability to disseminate and come to a rational conclusion is good in this area. Like, come on. And again, this is where it takes a bit of a turn. So this guy ran as a candidate in the 2019 federal election for the Marxist-Leninist Party. Again, the fact that they just kind of gloss over that, like, half the story should be about this. This guy ran as a federal candidate for the Marxist-Leninist Party. Again, why is he teaching here? And the other big part of this story that I wanted to get into is that this guy is teaching. Again, he teaches in the Faculty of Education. This guy is teaching people about his beliefs that are going on to teach hundreds, if not thousands, of other people in schools. Like, this is absolutely insane. Like, how is this going on? And the university issues a statement. This guy's views don't represent the views of the University of Alberta, on and on. As a private citizen, Mr. McDonald has the right to express his opinion, and others have the right to critique or debate that opinion. It is our understanding that he has not expressed these views in the context of his employment relationship within the university. And again, if this guy was a Nazi and he denied the Holocaust, would he? Are we actually going to pretend that you would let him keep his job? Like, come on, This is so crazy out there. And again, people on the left, that whenever the right compares communism to Nazism and which one's worse in comparing them, the left always scoffs at that for the reason that they think Nazism is way worse, even though it's the exact opposite. Communism was directly or indirectly responsible for the deaths of over 100 million people. Okay, Nazism was like 5-6 million. Now that's a ton of people, but compared to 150 million, that's a blip on the radar. So the fact that they, as a private citizen, yeah, he has the right to express his opinion, but if this, like I said, if this guy was denying the Holocaust and ran, I don't know if there is a Nazi Party of Canada, but let's just assume there is. Would you actually not let him go? Or I mean, you probably wouldn't have hired him to begin with, but let's just assume that he kept it a secret this whole time. I would bet every dollar I have, every possession I have, and every dollar I ever will have that he would be fired. And if, let's just assume that he isn't, that the outrage would be so big that it would force you to fire him. So the double standard here is absolutely astounding, and this guy is teaching people that go on to teach tens of thousands of people in their life. Like, his views are going to rub off on people. Like, I've never met a communist, or I mean, I haven't met very many communists, but I'm assuming that communists, and I do know from experience in a few ways, but they don't hide their political beliefs, right? That they don't hide their political beliefs. Like, if you're that far out there on your political beliefs are part of you. Like, someone who's a communist in 2019, like, I don't understand how does this guy get a job? He's literally willing to look past the deaths of over 100 million people to come to his conclusions. But yeah, you think he's fit to teach kids? Like, this guy is literally a psychopath or a sociopath. Literally, like, I'm not exaggerating on that. Or he's willing to look past that many deaths to come to his beliefs. Like, my God, that's astounding. But anyways, let's see if it goes on more here. Yeah, they kind of just show all the screenshots and stuff. You can check out this story again if you want. If you just search global news and the Ukrainian students or whatever, it'll come up. But I don't understand that. Like I mentioned in videos before, a lot of college campuses in the U.S., studies have been done. They literally have no conservative lecturers, teachers, professors, whatever you want to call it. And yet, this communist who denies the Holodomor, like, again, like, it, the fact that this guy's being defended and the fact that it's not a bigger story, like I just kind of randomly came across this story, and like, I'm as aware as, is this kind of stuff as anyone, and I just kind of came across it. And again, if someone, let's just assume this guy was a Nazi, ran as a Nazi, denied the Holocaust, and not only that, blamed it on the communists, would there not be, like I said, I would bet every dollar I have that the outrage would be across the country outrage, and yet there's absolutely no outrage about this when this guy's he's not private about it. Like, I guarantee you that he talks about it in college campuses. Like I've spent quite a bit of time on college campuses, and every professor that I've known that has strong political beliefs on the left, I mean, because I've talked to some of them in private, they're not afraid about talking about their political beliefs. I've had situations where people, I mean, they weren't super upfront about it, but they clearly weren't on the left, and getting them to talk about their political beliefs was almost impossible. Like, I tried, and they were so afraid. And I had a specific case where we were supposed to do presentations on current events in a class, and one of the people in the class did a presentation on the gender pay gap. And after they took questions, and I don't know exactly how it came to it, but the professor was questioning them on their they're coming to their conclusions and their stats and all that kind of stuff. Because I mean, everyone knows it's complete BS. But he was questioning them, and um, one of the not the person doing the presentation, just a random person, turned around and like it was just this was kind of mid him questioning the person who did the presentation, and just said, well, this person turned around and said, well, no offense, but you're a white male, so your opinion doesn't matter. Like they literally said that. Like, that literally was said in a class I was in, and I mean the class just went silent. And after that, he actually kind of went. He actually kind of took it relatively well, and he continued talking in that he had literally had been not given promotions when he was clearly the more qualified candidate over women and over minorities, and he expressed his dissatisfaction in that. And he talked about how bad that was, and how upsetting that was, and how we shouldn't be doing that. And he was someone who, like I say, clearly wasn't on the left, clearly had every reason to believe what he believed, but it took someone saying something like that to get him to talk about his beliefs. When you have all these anti-Trump people and all that stuff going on and on when they have no idea what they're talking about. Like I had an economics teacher um, who, oh, I mean, he didn't talk that much, but he talked enough that it was pretty obvious that he was rather anti-Trump. um, and he completely ignored, like I didn't bring it up, but someone else did, about how the Trump economy is the best economy in a long time, and the stock market's at a record high and all this kind of stuff, and he completely ignored it. He didn't even acknowledge it. So like these are the people that are teaching our, the next generation of people. And we, like the whole coming back trying to make my point is that we need to be concerned about this kind of stuff, because I mean, people on the right, like if you want to live in leftist and far left societies for the rest of your life, unless you want to do that, you need to speak up about this kind of stuff. So I think I've made this video pretty long and long enough, so I'm going to leave it there. If you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and stay tuned for more.